AITA for divorcing my wife after she admitted settling for me over her deadbeat ex? I am 38 years old and have been married to my wife, Jessica, who is 37, for 14 years. We have known each other since we were teenagers. We practically grew up together. We have two wonderful children, Riley, 13, and Evan, 11, who are the light of our lives. I always thought we had a solid marriage based on trust and mutual love, but something happened this weekend that made me question everything. Last Friday, Jessica and I attended our high school reunion. It was an adults-only event, so we left the kids at my parents' house. The atmosphere was festive as everyone reminisced about old times and caught up with one another. As is typical at these events, alcohol was flowing freely. Jessica and I do not usually drink much, but that night we decided to relax a little. I had a few beers, but I noticed Jessica was drinking more than usual. I did not think much of it at the time. I figured she was simply enjoying a carefree evening, especially since the kids were staying at their grandparents' house. As the evening progressed, the mood grew more relaxed and the conversations more personal. At one point, a group of friends began talking about Brandon, Jessica's ex-boyfriend. Brandon and Jessica had dated in high school and through part of college before Jessica and I started dating. I overheard snippets of the conversation. Apparently, Brandon had fallen into a downward spiral of drug addiction and alcoholism. Some of our friends expressed concern and regret about what had become of him. I remembered that this was exactly why Jessica had broken up with him all those years ago. Jessica and I began dating about a year after she ended things with Brandon. I always knew he existed, of course, but he was never a frequent topic of conversation between us. Jessica had told me the relationship ended because of his drug problems, but we had never gone into deeper detail. I respected her past and trusted that she would tell me if something important needed to be said. That is when it happened. Jessica, clearly affected by the alcohol, joined the conversation about Brandon. Her voice was louder than usual, and I noticed a tone I had never heard from her before. With a mix of nostalgia and bitterness, she said something that made my blood run cold. You know, I gave Brandon a choice. I told him to choose between the drugs or me. He chose the drugs. If he had chosen to stay with me, we would probably still be together. The silence that followed was deafening. I could feel all eyes shifting between Jessica and me. My mind went blank for a moment as I tried to process what I had just heard. Had my wife, the woman I had shared the last 16 years of my life with, just implied that I was her second choice? I wanted to say something and confront her right then and there, but I held back. We had all been drinking, and it was neither the time nor the place for a conversation that could change our lives. Besides, a part of me hoped it was just the alcohol talking and that Jessica would realize how inappropriate her comment was and apologize the next day. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. I tried to stay calm and continue socializing as if nothing had happened, but Jessica's words kept echoing in my head. When we finally got home, Jessica collapsed into bed while I stayed awake for hours, replaying every moment of our relationship and looking for signs I might have missed. The next morning, during breakfast, Jessica noticed I was unusually quiet. The kids were still at my parents' house, so we were alone. She asked what was wrong, and I decided it was time to address the issue. Jessica, I started, trying to remain calm. What you said last night about Brandon made me question our entire relationship. Do you really consider me your second choice? I expected her to immediately deny it and reassure me that it was just a stupid comment made while drunk. But her reaction was completely different. Without saying a word, she got up from the table and locked herself in our bedroom. I called out to her several times, asking her to come out so we could talk like adults, but I received no response. The rest of the day passed in awkward silence. Jessica only left the bedroom to use the bathroom or grab something from the kitchen, avoiding eye contact with me the entire time. That evening, I decided to sleep on the couch. It was not to punish her, but because I felt we needed space to process what was happening. I hoped that by the next day, with clearer minds, we could have an honest conversation. Sunday arrived, but the situation did not improve. Jessica continued giving me the silent treatment, speaking to me only when absolutely necessary to coordinate picking up the kids that afternoon. Riley and Evan noticed something was wrong, but we tried to maintain an appearance of normalcy in front of them. And here I am now, writing this on Sunday evening after yet another day of silence and tension. I do not understand why Jessica is acting this way. She is the one who made the hurtful comment, yet now she refuses to talk about it. I feel like I am being punished for something I did not do. A part of me wants to demand explanations, but I know that would only make things worse. Another part of me wants to pretend nothing happened and return to our normal routine. But I know I cannot do that. This comment has opened Pandora's box of insecurities and doubts that I simply cannot ignore. Have I really been nothing more than a placeholder all these years? Has our life together, our children, and our shared dreams all been just a plan B for her? And if Brandon had overcome his addictions, would Jessica have gone back to him? I know that 16 years of marriage cannot be reduced to a single comment made while under the influence of alcohol. I know we have built a life together and have 2 children together. Still, I cannot shake the feeling that something fundamental in our relationship has been broken. I need to know if I am overreacting. Should I give Jessica more time to process this? Should I insist on having a conversation even if she does not want to? Or should I start considering that maybe our relationship is not as solid as I always believed? Update 1. It has been almost 5 days since my original post, and I wanted to give an update on my situation. First, I want to thank everyone who took the time to reply to my post. It has been a tough week, but your comments helped me process my emotions and think about the next steps. Before getting into the details of what happened this week, I want to answer some of the most frequent questions and comments I received. Many of you asked about the nature of Jessica and Brandon's relationship and how exactly it ended. After a lot of thought, I realized I did not know as many details as I thought. Jessica and Brandon were together for 4 years, from their sophomore year of high school until their sophomore year of college. From what Jessica had told me, their relationship was pretty intense, as teenage relationships often are. The drug problem with Brandon started during their last year together. At first, according to Jessica, it was just recreational, but it gradually escalated to harder drugs. Jessica tried to help him for months, even accompanying him to a few meetings, but the situation became unbearable when Brandon started skipping classes and jeopardizing his academic future. The breakup, according to what Jessica had told me, was painful but necessary. She gave him an ultimatum: the drugs or her. Brandon chose the drugs. Jessica was devastated but decided to focus on her studies. It was not really a question, but rather she told him that either he stopped or she would leave him. That is how it happened when she went to his dorm room one evening and noticed he was under the influence. I knew Jessica from college. We were friends, but not close. We started spending more time together about 6 months after her breakup with Brandon, and we officially started dating almost a year later. I always thought that time frame was enough for Jessica to get over her previous relationship, but now I wonder if that was really the case. Several commenters suggested I should get DNA tests for the kids. I want to be clear. I do not believe there was any cheating on Jessica's part, at least not around the time Riley and Evan were born. Our relationship was solid back then, and I had not noticed anything unusual in Jessica's behavior. However, I understand that you can never be 100% sure about these things. So, after careful consideration, I decided I was going to take the tests, not because I truly believe the kids are not mine, but to have peace of mind and completely rule out that possibility. It is more of an exercise to soothe my own insecurities than a true suspicion of infidelity. The first few days after my first post were tense. Jessica continued her silent treatment, and I felt increasingly frustrated and hurt. The kids clearly noticed something was wrong, although we tried to maintain an appearance of normalcy in front of them. Wednesday, Jessica finally broke the silence. It was not a big conversation, but it was at least a start. She came up to me while I was working on my laptop in the living room and simply said, "I am sorry." I looked up, surprised, and asked her, "What exactly are you sorry for?" Jessica sat on the couch, keeping some distance between us, for what I said at the reunion. I should not have said that. I was drunk and I spoke without thinking. I wanted to dig deeper and ask her if she really meant what she had said or if she just regretted saying it out loud. But I held back. Instead, I said, "I appreciate your apology, but I think we need to have a serious conversation about this." Jessica nodded, but I could see the apprehension in her eyes. "I know," she said, "but I still need a little time to clear my thoughts. Can we talk about it Friday night? The kids will be at my parents', and we will have privacy." I agreed to wait until Friday. A part of me wanted to sort everything out immediately, but it was better not to rush her if I wanted to get to the bottom of things. The rest of the week was a strange mix of tension and normalcy. Jessica and I started talking again, but our conversations remained superficial, limited to subjects concerning the kids or household chores. We are sleeping in the same bed again, but the emotional distance between us is palpable. I tried to mentally prepare myself for our conversation tomorrow night. I have so many questions to ask Jessica. One thing I decided is that no matter how our conversation goes tomorrow, I am going to suggest we seek couples therapy. I think we need professional help to navigate through this situation and rebuild trust in our relationship. I am nervous about tomorrow's conversation, but also eager to finally get answers. A part of me is afraid of what Jessica might say, but another part is relieved that we are finally tackling the problem head-on. That being said, I will not have much time to read them because I will be working tomorrow, and then we will have the conversation, but I will try to read the comments during my work. Edit 1. Some asked for news about Brandon and his current situation. From what I know, he still struggles with his addictions. Neither Jessica nor I have had direct contact with him for years, but we sometimes hear news through mutual friends. The last time we heard about him, he was trying to go to rehab, but he seems to have had relapses. Edit 2. For those wondering about my job and Jessica's, we both have stable careers. I work in tech, and she is a high school teacher. Financially, we are doing well, which is a relief given everything that is going on. Some suggested I consult a family law attorney, just to be prepared. I am thinking about it, just as I have considered many other options, although I hope it does not come to that. Update 2. It has been a few days since my last update, and, as promised, I am here to share what happened. The conversation with Jessica finally took place, but I regret to say that I do not feel more reassured. In fact, I am more worried than ever. Friday evening, after the kids went to her parents', we sat down in the living room. The atmosphere was tense. Neither of us really knew where to start. Finally, I decided to get straight to the point. Jessica, I said, I need to understand what you meant by that comment about Brandon. Do you really believe you would still be with him if he had chosen to stay with you? Jessica let out a deep sigh before answering. Listen, she started. Brandon was my first, and that makes him special in a way that is hard to explain. But that does not mean what we have is not real or important. I was not satisfied with this answer. But I am your second choice, I insisted. And that is where things started to get frustrating. Jessica began giving evasive answers that only increased my doubts. For example, it is not a matter of first or second choice. Every relationship is unique. The past is the past. What matters is our present together. Why are you so fixated on something I said while being drunk? Every time I tried to get a direct answer, she found a way to dodge the question. That only fueled my frustration and my suspicions. At one point, Jessica suggested that maybe we should consider couples therapy. Maybe a professional could help us communicate better, she said. Although I appreciated the suggestion, indeed, I had considered proposing it myself. I could not shake the feeling that it was yet another way to avoid facing the problem directly. Finally, I decided to bring up the subject that had been running through my mind since I read the comments on my initial post. Jessica, I said, trying to stay calm, I need to ask you an important question. Are the kids mine? Jessica's reaction was immediate and furious. How can you even ask that question? She exclaimed. Of course they are yours. How dare you doubt me to that extent? I tried to calm the situation. Listen, I said, I am not accusing you of anything. I just need to be sure. If the kids really are mine, you will have no problem with me doing a DNA test, right? Jessica's expression changed from anger to something I could not fully decipher. If you take that test, she said calmly, then yes, we will have a problem, because it will mean you do not trust me at all. That response chilled me. Jessica, I said, trying to keep my calm, it is hard to trust you when your answers have not been very convincing so far. I need to take this test to be sure. With every minute I spend talking to you, I have more doubts, not less. Jessica got up from the couch, visibly upset. I cannot believe that after 14 years together, after everything we have shared, you are ready to throw everything out the window because of a stupid comment I made while drunk, she said. If you cannot trust me, then I do not know what we are doing together. With those words, she went into the bedroom and slammed the door. That happened a few hours ago. I have been sitting here on the couch ever since, trying to process everything that happened. Reddit, I am more confused than ever. Jessica's refusal to give me direct answers and her reaction to the idea of a DNA test have only increased my suspicions. A part of me wants to believe her, to think that all of this is just a big misunderstanding, but another part of me cannot ignore all these red flags. I have made a decision. Next week, I am going to take the DNA tests. I know this could mark the end of my marriage if Jessica finds out, but I need to know the truth. With every passing hour, I feel more and more uneasy with this whole situation. I am also seriously thinking about seeking legal advice. I do not like considering that my marriage could be over, but seeing how things have unfolded, I feel I must be prepared for any outcome. As for the kids, Riley and Evan, it breaks my heart to think about how this could affect them. They are everything to me, and the idea that they might not be biologically mine tears me apart. But at the same time, I know I will love them no matter what happens. I just hope that no matter what occurs, we can protect them as much as possible from all this chaos. I will keep you updated when I have the test results or if anything important happens. For now, I guess it is another night on the couch. That is another thing that worries me about Jessica. We cannot have a decent conversation because she reacts like a teenager. Edit 3. Some asked if I had considered that maybe Jessica could be behaving defensively because she feels guilty about the comment and not because she is hiding something regarding the children's paternity. It is a possibility I considered, but her reaction to the DNA test idea seems too extreme if that were the case. For now, I am giving her the benefit of the doubt. Innocent until proven guilty, but with her reactions, it is hard to take her side at the moment. I think a jury would find it very suspicious. Edit 4. For those suggesting I should talk directly to Brandon, I appreciate the suggestion, but I do not think it is a good idea right now. We have not had contact for years, and, given his continuous struggle with addiction, I am not sure he would be a reliable source of information. Furthermore, I do not want to take the risk of Jessica finding out I spoke with him behind her back. Update 3. Not many days have passed since my last update, so unfortunately, I still do not have the DNA test results. It is eating me up inside because I would like to have the results now and get rid of this feeling that something might be wrong. But anyway, I have already taken the tests and now all that is left is to wait. I was told it would take between 2 and 3 weeks. However, this update is to share some thoughts I have had, like the idea of divorcing Jessica. It is not just because she might have cheated on me with Brandon or because the kids might not be mine, which in itself would already be a very good reason to divorce, but also because of her strange behavior over these last few days. Every time I try to talk to her about something that bothers me, she shuts down both emotionally and physically. She always tries to play the victim while her comments and her actions leave a lot to the imagination. I understand she might feel offended that I suggested she could have cheated on me or that the kids might not be mine, but all these actions make me think that could be the case. And instead of sitting down and talking to me, she acts like a spoiled child who is just waiting for me to forget the problems and for us to return to normal. It is impossible to have a healthy marriage this way without being able to discuss things and have an adult conversation. That is why I am thinking about this path regardless of whether she was unfaithful or not, because that has not yet been proven. Update 4. Over the last 3 weeks, a lot of things have happened, and I want to summarize that in this update. First of all, many people in the comments said that my wife's behavior is enough to consider divorce, especially since all this makes the situation even more suspicious. I also spoke to friends, and they think that even if she is not hiding anything, her reactions are not those of a mature person. However, after what happened recently, I think divorce is the only way forward anyway. I was not able to prove her infidelity because fortunately the DNA test results arrived, and I am indeed the father of Riley and Evan. That took a huge weight off my shoulders because it feels good to know I did not raise someone else's children. At least all the anxiety and nervousness of the last few weeks have disappeared, at least concerning my children. It feels really good to be able to say they are mine. Before the results arrived, my relationship with Jessica was similar to what it had been these last few weeks. She would lock herself in her room and barely spoke to me anymore, just enough to maintain a certain appearance of normalcy in front of our children. Gradually, she started talking to me again, but as soon as I suggested we talk, she would shut down again as soon as I mentioned something she did not like. I tried everything to talk to her, but it is always the same, especially during our last conversation where everything derailed, and I believe there is no turning back in this marriage. Earlier today, when I finally had the test results and she was a bit calmer, I sat down to talk to her. Before that, I had taken my children to my parents who already know the broad outlines of everything that is going on. When she came home from work, she asked me where our children were, and I told her I had left them with my dad so we could talk. I also told her that I was not going to accept her locking herself in the room again because I was considering divorce if we did not sort this situation out. I could see she was about to get up and go to her room again, but she stayed when I started pulling the papers out of the envelope containing the results. She asked me what it was, and I told her it was the DNA test results. To say she was furious does not even begin to describe what happened next. She was truly angry. She started yelling at me, saying I had no right to do that, and that I was not a man if I doubted her as a woman. She even took one of the decorations we had on the coffee table and threw it against the wall in frustration. Despite the whole scene, the strangest thing was that she did not run away to the bedroom. It was as if she was waiting to see what the results were. Finally, when she calmed down, I told her the results, and I could not tell if her expression was of relief or not because she was still very angry. Then she asked me if I was happy with what I had done by doubting my wife. I answered no, that I would have preferred to talk about things, but that over these last few weeks she had been impossible to manage and that I had no other choice than that. She then said that now that we had put this nonsense behind us, it was time for me to behave like a decent person and that we finally returned to normal. I answered her that the test only resolved one of the many problems we had and that it did not change her behavior. That is when she got angry once again and started yelling at me. I think I did well to get my children out of the house because it is a scene I would not have wanted them to see. She told me that if I wanted to divorce, fine, that I was not a real man anyway because I could not handle a simple comment. Which is ironic because she herself is not even capable of having an adult conversation. If she does not hide to avoid talking about things, she becomes aggressive and has outbursts. Then she said something else, that she wished her ex had chosen her rather than drugs because that way she would not have ended up with a loser like me. That made me furious, so I answered her that it was a classic pattern with her exes because her former partner had not chosen her either, but something much better in comparison, and now her future ex-husband was also going to choose divorce rather than her. After that, I grabbed some things and went to live at my parents' where I am writing all this to you from. My children asked me what happened, but I told them I would explain it tomorrow because I am not in a condition to do so right now. Only my parents know, and they think I should not let my children live with her because of these emotional outbursts. But that is where things are for the moment. After this, I think divorce is no longer a question, it is a necessity. I will write to you again if anything changes in my situation after all this. Update 5. These last few months have been very long, but at least the divorce is finalized, and I have sole custody of my children. I would not say it was easy getting sole custody, but at least something good came out of all this because I would not have been comfortable with my ex-wife taking care of my children unsupervised. It is not just because of the aggressive outbursts she had shown recently. She had other episodes similar to those of the last update, but also because she started consuming alcohol more frequently than was reasonable. I would not say she is an alcoholic, but in many of these episodes it was clear she had been drinking. That helped in the divorce proceedings and made things a little easier, but not enough to make these months any less trying. But it is good to start leaving all this behind me, and given that my children are no longer small and they will soon become adults, I only have a few years left of having to manage my ex. Comment. Hey everyone, I hope this story resonated with you the way it did with me. One thing it reminded me of is how essential it is to hold on to our self-respect. We all have the right to set healthy boundaries and expect to be treated with kindness. Sometimes, choosing peace means walking away from what no longer serves us. Taking responsibility for our emotional well-being is a powerful act of love. Healing is a process, and it starts with being honest about what we truly deserve. You are worthy of relationships where you feel safe and valued. Remember that protecting your peace is never selfish. I encourage you to keep showing up for yourself with patience and courage. Let's continue growing and making choices that lead us toward a calmer, more fulfilling life. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.